Hello from VMworld Barcelona 2015. My name is Jase McCarty with the VMware Storage and Availability Business Unit. And today I'm going to talk about HCI in a ROBO configuration, specifically our particular offering from VMware as far as a ROBO HCI solution. Now, something we introduced a couple weeks ago at VMworld US 2015 is the capability of running virtual SAN in a 2-node config. One of the challenges that a lot of customers have had is looking at the economy of a 3-node HCI solution in small remote office, branch office type of configurations. The big challenge is when you've got a remote office, branch office with just a requirement of a couple of VMs, something like, let's say, a domain controller, maybe a DNS server, possibly those are the same, let's say a local proxy, different things like that. You don't necessarily always need a lot of hardware. In the process of those type of configurations, when we go and we have a 3-node configuration, the cost can be somewhat prohibitive, and you may decide to present those services over the network as opposed to some local services. Some of the challenges there, though, sometimes connectivity or bandwidth, different things like that. A lot of people have asked for a 2-node capability with virtual SAN. So we introduced VMware Virtual SAN 6.1, and again VMworld US, and with the latest edition of Virtual SAN 6.1, we now have the capability of running in 2-node configurations. Now, to do this, we still have the requirement of having our primary fault domain, secondary fault domain. We still require a witness. But we now have the capability in a ROBO remote office type configuration where we can run that witness, let's say in a centralized data center, as we have here on the screen. We can potentially run that witness inside vCloud Air. We can manage all those from a single vCenter. Right? So if we have let's say a particular solution where a financial, like a bank, or let's say hospital, medical facility, whatnot, decides that they want to have some remote offices and they only need a minimal amount of services, they can easily manage a highly distributed configuration with just 2 nodes at each of the remote sites. Looking at the screen here, we'll see that we've got 2 nodes and 3 different ROBO deployments. Again, these are all managed by a single vCenter server. Now, that single vCenter still handles all the patches, still handles all the configuration of all the different hosts, and in conjunction with that, we really don't require a lot of bandwidth as far as that goes. Now, as far as that witness, we don't have any type of customer data, if you will, other than specific metadata to the ROBO cluster, if you will. Okay. Now, just like traditional 3 or more node deployments of vSAN, we still require a layer 2 domain for data communications between the hosts, as we're writing different VMDKs or other objects across the 2 nodes. And then we only require, again, a very small amount of traffic when it comes to that witness. Typically for a ROBO deployment, we typically require a 1.5 megabit connection for up to 25 VMs. And then also we don't have the same latency requirements that we have in a stretched cluster config. Stretched clusters, we typically require a 200 millisecond round trip time from a latency perspective, but with our ROBO config, less than 25 VMs will support up to 500 milliseconds round trip time. Now, with that being said, we do check in once a second. That witness, once a second, looks at the 2 different nodes on a 2-node config, and basically gives a check that says, hey, are you there, are you there? What changes have been made? What disks have been created or extended or snapshotted or whatnot? Now, the appliance witness VM is sized differently depending on whether we're using stretched clusters or ROBO, but the smallest config, typically fine for a ROBO configuration, really only requires 8 gigs of RAM, 2 virtual CPUs, and approximately 25 gigs of disk space. Now, it does change a little bit depending on the capacity size of the VMs, but it's really not significant. Now, one of the things that I really like about the fact that we can now deliver virtual SAN and an HCI solution in small remote offices in a 2-node configuration is really the cost. So if we were to, let's say for instance, deploy across 50 different sites, and across those 50 different sites we had 3 nodes, and let's say those nodes cost, I'll just use a ballpark of $10,000 a piece. Okay, so 50 sites, 30,000, let's say US dollars across all 50 sites, that can get pretty expensive. Now if we can deploy with a 2-node configuration, in comparison to that, we can effectively cut out a third of that hardware cost, that OpEx, or that CapEx rather. So being able to effectively deliver services across many sites at a lower hardware cost is significant. Now, to go into some of the licensing of VMware Virtual SAN, we have a couple of different editions, and I'll get into the ROBO in just a moment, but if we look at our licensing chart, if you will, we have Standard, Advanced, and ROBO. Standard and ROBO are effectively the same as far as the feature set. Advanced gives us the capability of using all flash or also stretched clusters. Now, if you happen to be a customer that's using VDI, which may or may not be particular to ROBO, but if you're using VDI, then you have the capability of, if you have Horizon Advanced or Horizon Enterprise, you have the capability of running Virtual SAN any edition really for free, Standard or Advanced. Now, there's been a lot of confusion about ROBO, and the way that vSAN ROBO is licensed in effectively the same fashion as vSphere ROBO is. They're licensed in 25 VM packs. vSphere ROBO is licensed in 25 VM packs, and that VM count can be distributed across multiple sites. So like I was talking with a customer very recently, they had multiple sites where they only had a need for a couple nodes, and they had maybe a maximum number of about 75 VMs, or actually about to go to 72, something like that. With Virtual SAN ROBO, like vSphere ROBO, you can take that license count for a pack, let's say of 25, and distribute that across multiple sites. Okay? So that's where a little bit of confusion has come up, is people have asked, well, what's the maximum number of VMs I can run at any particular site with vSphere ROBO or vSAN ROBO? You have a maximum of 25 per site, but if you have multiple sites, again, like an example of 5 sites, if you only have 5 VMs across 5 sites, you would really only need 1 vSphere ROBO and 1 vSAN ROBO license pack. If you were to get to a point where you had any number greater than 25 at a single site, you would actually need to upgrade, or you actually need to purchase Virtual SAN Standard in that case. Okay, there's no upgrade path from vSAN ROBO to vSAN Standard. Now, with that being said, though, if you had 10 VMs across 5 sites, you would need 2 license packs. Right? So effectively, with vSAN ROBO, you have the capability of running up to 25 VMs per site across 2 or more hosts. There's not a limit when it comes to the number of hosts that you can run. But it's very cost effective if you have a very small footprint from a hypervisor as well as a storage perspective. So you can very easily, very cheaply license vSAN for consumption across multiple remote sites. Thank you.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, I'm done.